Hey, Prime members. Are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcasts? Good news. With Amazon Music, you have access to the largest catalog of ad-free top podcasts included with your Prime membership. To start listening, download the Amazon Music app for free or go to amazon.com/ad-free podcasts. That's amazon.com/ad-free podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We are talking about spring. Now, spring is obviously the season that we change from winter going into summer, right? It's primavera. But we also use the word spring as a verb, meaning to jump, right? So let's jump into spring and look at this new episode.
Bienvenido al podcast de The Way. Si quieres aprender inglés y hablar con confianza, estás en el sitio correcto. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a mejorar su inglés y alcanzar sus objetivos. Visita nuestra web theway.es para conocer más sobre nuestros cursos online desde A2 hasta C1 y descubre cómo podemos ayudarte a avanzar en tu aprendizaje. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen Language Pair cómodamente desde casa.
I have a couple of things for you guys today. We're going to be looking at some idioms. We're going to be looking at a little bit of vocabulary and some questions to discuss. But let's start with the expressions and idioms for you. I have 9. Okay. A lot of them have the word spring in them, but not always spring as in primavera. Sometimes that means spring meaning to jump. So let's have a look. Some of them are connected to spring, but are not really about spring. Some of them have the words about spring, but so let's just see how it goes. But they are really, really good and something that you can put directly into your speaking habits for English. Number 1 is spring into action. Just like I said in the introduction, to jump into spring. All right. We can also say to spring into action, to jump into action. So it is to start something quickly and energetically. When the alarm rang, she sprang into action and got ready for work. Number 2, a spring in your step, one of my favorite expressions. It just is a really beautiful way to say that, this person is looking confident today or happy today. When you have a spring in your step, it means that you are walking confidently. There's something different, right? My explanation here says to feel energetic and happy, but it's more about how you're walking, right? Imagine that someone is having a bad week, right? And they're just like shoulders down and they're just like, oh, no. And then one day they walk into the office and they're just like, la, 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 right? That way we talk about, oh, look, Maria has a spring in her step today. What's my example in the downloadable worksheet? It says, now that the sun is shining, I have a real spring in my step. Yes, we've had about a month of rain here in Spain in March 2025. And I can see that people are feeling different now that the sun is out. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 is spring to your feet, meaning to jump to your feet. It means to stand up very quickly, right? You could say he stood up very quickly, but it doesn't really show the emotion or the action very quickly. So let's look at the example. The crowd sprung to their feet when the footballer scored a goal. Now, you know how people are with football. When someone scores a goal, everyone stands up and they go, wow, right? There's a very enthusiastic jump, and that is to spring to your feet. The next one that we have is a little bit weird because it does actually have an original meaning, but we don't really use it that way. So this one is April showers bring May flowers, right? So when it rains, shower is another word for rain. So when it rains in April, it means later we will have flowers in May. But it's meant to be used in a way to say you have to have the difficult time to have the reward, right? My example here for the meaning is sometimes you have to go through difficulties to see good results. And that's true. It is the original meaning. But sometimes, especially in journaling or in as a quote for April, people will just say, April showers bring May flowers. That's not really used in its original way. But let's go through the example. It says, studying for exams is tough. Tough meaning hard. But remember, April showers bring May flowers. The next one is spring has sprung. Now, spring, remember, is the verb as well. So we have spring, the jump. But in the past, we would say sprung. So to say spring has sprung, it means that the spring has arrived. Spring has, we are fully into spring. And we use it a lot. It's quite cute to say spring has sprung. I use it as well. And if you just look at the example, it says, look at all the flowers. Spring has sprung. The next one is also very good, but is not technically related to the seasons. It's no spring chicken. Now, spring is also another lovely way to talk about how something is youthful, right? It is young and full of youth. So when you say that you're no spring chicken, it means that you're saying you're an old chicken. And we use it a lot. You can't say I am an old chicken. That's not the expression. The expression is, wow, I'm feeling old today. I'm no spring chicken. So let's look at the example. It says, he may not be a spring chicken, but he's still full of energy. Also, probably one of my favorites. The next one is also not really about spring, but yes, about spring because leaves grow in spring. The expression is to turn over a new leaf. All right. So to turn over a new leaf means to start fresh, to start new, to try again, to try and do something different, right? So maybe you were a really bad partner in a relationship and you weren't very good, or maybe you weren't the best, I don't know, whatever. And now you want to change your habits, you want to change your behavior. Then we would say to start on a new leaf. My example here is, with spring here, it's time to turn over a new leaf and start exercising. That's me too. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and focus on my health and quit eating so much junk food. Very difficult with my personality. So let's see how that goes. But the next one, number 8, is, well, in many parts of the world, you must remember this podcast is talking about spring in the northern hemisphere, all right? So now, in the southern hemisphere, March, April, you're going into autumn. But now in the northern hemisphere, usually with spring comes rain, all right? So we use it in that connection, that with spring there is rain. But the expression is come rain or shine. That's quite a nice expression. It's like in Spanish, you would say sí o sí, right? You have to do this, sí o sí. It's like saying you are going to the meeting next week, come rain or shine. So whatever happens, you must do it. And the example I have here is, we will have our picnic this weekend, come rain or shine. So it doesn't matter the weather, we are doing it. And the final one is also quite lovely. Have you seen that Disney film, Mulan? So if you have watched Mulan, you will remember that Mulan sits in the garden with her dad. And the dad takes a cherry blossom flower and puts it in her hair. And basically he says that not all flowers bloom. That's a very good verb. Open at the same time. Some open later, some open earlier. That is the expression, a late bloomer, meaning a flower that opens later than other flowers. It's quite beautiful, actually. So this one means that you develop skills or talents, or maybe it takes you a little bit longer to achieve things compared to other people. But it's lovely. We use it also with like body differences. So like a girl that develops physically later than other girls, we consider her a late bloomer. But more often than not, it just means that, you're doing things a little bit later than others. My example here is, He started learning English at 40, but he's proof that being a late bloomer doesn't matter. So let's look into these idioms and expressions one more time. We have spring into action, a spring in your step, spring to your feet, April showers bring May flowers, spring has sprung, no spring chicken, to turn over a new leaf, come rain or shine, and a late bloomer, right? Now, which one is your favorite? I think my favorites are spring sprung and a spring in your step, and probably come rain or shine. I mean, I basically use all of them, but those are probably the ones that I like the most. What about you? Which one is your favorite? Right, let's look into the second part. Part 2 is spring traditions around the world, and it's actually quite beautiful because every culture is slightly different. But when I was researching, so many different cultures celebrate spring in one way or another, and I think that's wonderful. So we're going to start with the Holi festival in India. Now, the Holi festival is quite famous now because there is a very famous run where it's called the Holi Run, where you are doing a 5-kilometer race and people throw colored powder, el polvo, right? They throw it at you during the race. I've done it twice, actually, but it's actually a festival in India that's with bright colors and a lot of dancing, and it just marks the beginning of spring, right? We also have in Japan the Cherry Blossom Festival, and that's just because Japan is iconic for its cherry blossoms in the spring season, that it's just part of their tradition as well. In Christian religion, we have Easter. There's the commercial Easter, with the Easter bunny and looking for Easter egg hunts and chocolates and all of that. But then obviously the traditional religious Easter, where during this time Jesus died and went up to heaven and all that. But there is another aspect in Spain called Semana Santa. So we have Festivales de Primavera. So first we have Semana Santa, which is the Holy Week of Pascua, which is Easter, and then afterwards, especially in my city of Murcia, they have a week of spring celebrations. And that's beautiful. And there's there's a different activity every day. Last year for the podcast, I spoke about the week of spring in Murcia. So if you're interested, go check that one out. But I think the festivals of spring in Spain are iconic in every city. The final spring tradition I have is more of the Middle East, sort of your Iran, Afghanistan. And I don't know how to pronounce this exactly. Nowruz. It is the Persian New Year. So on the spring equinox, what is equinox? Equinox is the change from winter into spring, all right? So on the spring equinox, especially in Iran, they celebrate the Persian New Year, right? And it's basically a connection of New Year and spring and the start of a new year. And I think that's beautiful as well, that you celebrate a new year not by the calendar, the international calendar, but by your own personal, with the seasons. And I think that's beautiful. If you are listening and you have other spring traditions, please share on our social media. We would love to hear it. That's it for that. Let's have a look at spring vocabulary. Now, with the spring vocabulary, I have some really, really good words, right? So listen, there's only 4, so you don't have to remember all of them, but just some of these are very good, like C1, C2 vocabulary. The first one is bloom. Now, I said it earlier with the expression late bloomer. So to bloom is the actual opening of the flower in spring. So living in Murcia, we have lots of orange and lemon trees, and it smells beautiful. And it's because all of the orange flowers are blooming. The next word is blossom. Now, blossom is the name of the flower that is on the tree. For example, cherry blossom, orange blossom. We can just say orange flower, but a flower really means, you could have a flower that you have all year, in any season. blossom really is more connected to the seasonal flowers, the flowers that only come out, or the flowers that only come out in or bloom in spring, The next word is Thor. Not Thor, the god of lightning and thunder. It's not Thor, it's Thaw, right? So this Thor is the word that we use when ice melts and snow melts. It's a very special type of melting because, ice cream melts, right? But we don't really use it for that. It's a slow melt that we use, for example, when you have lakes, rivers that are solid in winter and they slowly start to melt. We say that it is thawing. The final one is breeze, which is very lovely because in spring, at least in my experience, it's always windy. There's so much wind. And breeze is a lovely word that we used to say like a gentle breeze, a flojo breeze, right? We say a light spring breeze. And those are the words for spring today, your vocabulary. So we have bloom, blossom, thaw, and breeze. Okay, so those are the 4. My favorite, I quite like bloom. It has such a beautiful, poetic sound, So let me know which one is your favorite. There's only 4, so they could all be your favorite, for example. Then let's move on to the number 4, myths and folklore about spring. Now, I was doing some research for the podcast, and to be honest, I found it quite difficult because there's a lot of cultural superstitions with spring or the equinox of spring. Some people say that on the spring equinox, people don't have a shadow. Nadie tiene una sombra. Another one said that you can balance an egg upright, right? So there was a lot of not weird, just like things I have never heard of. And I didn't know how to talk about it. So if you know of any sort of superstitions or like local myths around spring, please share them on our social media because I think it would be very interesting. The one that I have here for you in the downloadable document is talking about the Greek myth of Persephone. Now, in Greek mythology, Persephone was taken to the underworld by Hades. Hades being the god of the underworld or god of the dead, right? And her mother Demeter, which is the mother of Persephone, she was so sad that Persephone had left that she made the earth cold, as in Demeter introduced winter to the world. But because Persephone loved her mother so much, so she loved Hades and she loved her mother, she returned in spring and the flowers bloomed and the warmth returned, but she also wanted to return to Hades, and then that's when we have winter, right? And then Demeter is sad and cries and brings back winter, and that's apparently how we have the seasons. And I just think that's such a lovely story, right? So if you have any other myths around spring, please let me know. I'd be very interested to hear. Otherwise, let's move on to 5 and 6, the final 2 things for today. Now, they're not really about English, so to speak. It's more about spring in general. Now, we have an expression. It's not really an expression. I guess you could say it. A spring expression called spring cleaning. Now, we don't really say autumn cleaning or winter cleaning. It's only spring cleaning. And it means to really once a year take out all the old things out of the house and make it new, clean the windows, take out everything out of the cupboard, pack it again. And it's just, I don't know, it's really lovely. Like I personally do spring cleaning every season. I do a winter cleaning and a spring cleaning where it's a deep clean. But the expression is a spring clean. But it could be any time of year. You could be talking to someone in summer and you say, hey, what are you up to? And they could say, yeah, well, I'm actually spring cleaning my house, even though it's in summer, right? So that's pretty interesting. But the vocabulary that goes with the organization and the cleaning is a very good one that says out with the old, in with the new. meaning to get rid of, to throw away all the old things so that you can make space for the new things. Another good one is a fresh start, meaning to start clean, to start again with no expectations. And the final one, more for organization, is called declutter. Now, clutter is we use it as a noun. So clutter means that you have a lot of stuff, right? Not organized. If you look at my office desk, it's full of clutter. There's pens and papers and this and that, and it's just a big disaster. So to declutter means to organize, throw away the things that need to be thrown away, and do everything perfectly. So those are the expressions really that we use for the spring cleaning and organizing. So the word spring clean to use as a verb, out with the old, in with the new, a fresh start, and declutter. Now, it is the season for spring cleaning, so is that something that you are going to do, or are you going to leave it until the summer? The final thing that I thought was very interesting to talk about is how spring affects our mood. Now, I don't know about you. I live in Murcia. Murcia is like sunny all the time. But there is something magical about the beginning of spring. I think it's the only really, besides Christmas doesn't count. It's the only real magic for me in the time of year. You can smell the blossoms, and the flowers are blooming, and there's a little bit of rain, and people are spending more time in the sun, and you can see more people are exercising. It's just, for me, the most beautiful thing. And I do notice that my mood elevates, right? So I have a little question here for you. It says, have you ever noticed that people seem happier in spring? Scientists say that more sunlight increases serotonin, a chemical that boosts our mood. The longer days and warmer weather gives us more energy. I can imagine that, because with daylight savings, it changes a little bit, right? So that will be interesting. Anyway, how do you feel when spring arrives? Do you notice a difference in your mood or a difference in your energy? Let me know. And that's it for today, everyone. We have quite a few things. We have spring idioms and expressions, some traditions around the world, spring vocabulary. We had a little bit of a discussion about myths and folklore, and then spring cleaning and organization, and finally how spring affects our mood, right? So that was a bit of a nutshell, like a quick resume of all the little spring cositas that I thought we could talk about. Otherwise, everyone, I will chat to you soon. Don't forget that you can download this from the blog, right? The transcript from the blog if you want to check it out. As well, if you are on the blog, please have a look. We have a level test if you want to check your level. That's completely for free, and you can look at all our courses online, and as well as check out the pricing structure. We have a limited offer of pricing of how you can pay for the courses. You can pay it month by month or all at once. It will definitely help you if you're looking to turn over a new leaf and start taking your English seriously. Otherwise, everyone, I will check you next week. Bye.
Si disfrutaste de este episodio y quieres llevar tu inglés al siguiente nivel, te invitamos a descubrir nuestros cursos online en theway.es, diseñados para mejorar tu fluidez y confianza en situaciones reales. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a transformar su aprendizaje. Visita ahora theway.es y realiza nuestro test de nivel interactivo de manera gratuita. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen de midterm cómodamente desde casa.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.